Today's lesson is called Mistaken Identity. Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff.
Hi, everybody. My name is Roger, and the title of our article today is called Mistaken Identity. That usually refers to when somebody thinks you're somebody else, but you're not the person that they think you are. It's a case of mistaken identity, or perhaps it's when the police arrest the wrong guy and the criminal actually runs free while an innocent person has to go to prison.
It's not me. It's not me. You've got the wrong person. You think that I committed this crime, but it's not me. Yes, let's say you're walking down the street and the police grab you. They say, hey, you come with us. You just robbed a bank and someone saw you do it. You fit the description. You'd say, what? I didn't rob a bank. This is a case of mistaken identity. You think I'm this bad person who robbed this bank, but I'm not that person. You've got the wrong person. Now, this might sound a little bit far-fetched, but this does happen. Cases of mistaken identity do occur. They do happen.
They do. And more specifically, though, in today's lesson, we're talking about mistaking identity when it happens to be someone from another race. If you're black or white or yellow or whatever, sometimes we can identify our own people pretty well. But if we're asked to identify somebody of a different race, well, according to our article, we're going to have some problems with that. So let's find out what this is all about. Let's begin by listening to the first part of our lesson, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Mistaken identity. Imagine you witnessed a crime and the police asked you to identify the culprit. If he or she had another skin color, do you think you could accurately pick the person out? You might think to yourself, of course I could. Yet experiments show that you are 50% more likely to make a mistake than if that person were the same race as you. This is known as the other race effect, which basically means that we struggle to tell people apart if they are from different racial groups.
大家好，第一部分我们看到单字 culprit， 这个字是名词，指罪犯、肇事者。例如 After 6 months of investigation, the police finally found the culprit of this case. 经过半年的调查，警方终于找到这个案件的肇事者。
It wasn't me. You've got the wrong person. This is a case of mistaken identity. Anyways, yes, all of this might sound a little bit far-fetched and a little bit crazy, but hey, these things do happen, okay? Mistaken identity, it's a thing that does occur. Yes, imagine you witnessed a crime and the police asked you to identify the culprit. Okay, you should be able to do that. You witnessed the crime, you saw the person who did it. You should be able to say, hey, that's the person who did it. I saw that person with my own eyes. Sure, you could do that. We all think that we could do that, but still, mistaken identity is still a thing. It happens, it occurs, and yes, when race is involved, the issue gets even more complicated. Anyways, before we move on, let's go ahead and talk about the verb identify, okay? If you identify someone, you figure out who that person is by looking at them. Otherwise, more generally, if you figure out what something is, you identify that thing. You can look at it, touch it, feel it, smell it, whatever. Okay, once you know what that thing is, you have identified that thing.
Indeed, you could tell what it was. So, of course, you witnessed a crime, you saw the crime, and the police said, hey, can you tell us who did it? Can you identify the culprit? The culprit, of course, is the person who caused the problem. And in the case of the person having another skin color, do you think you could accurately pick the person out? So indeed, if you wanted to identify the culprit, if that person was of a different race, say you're from Taiwan here, and you know that the person who committed the crime was a white guy, well, could you actually identify that person? Because, hey, a white guy has different colored skin than you do. Do you think you'd be able to tell that person apart from other white guys?
Well, of course I could. Race doesn't matter. The color of a person's skin doesn't matter. If I witnessed a crime, I would be able to figure out who that person was or identify that person regardless of race, right? Well, it turns out that things are a little bit more complicated than that. There's more than meets the eye, especially when race becomes a factor. So yes, you might think to yourself, of course I could. I just witnessed the crime. I could identify the culprit, the criminal, no problem. Yet, experiments show that you are 50% more likely to make a mistake than if that person were the same race as you. So there you go. Race does matter, okay? The color of a person's skin might not matter to you because you're colorblind and not racist, but experiments show here that the situation is a little bit more complicated than that. We might not want to acknowledge it, but here it is. Science says so. Anyways, let's go ahead and talk about this word percent right now. Okay, when we use percents, we are measuring something. Yes, a percent is a way of measuring something. When you use percents, you measure something using parts per hundred. Now, what does this mean? Well, okay, 100%, let's say, is all of that thing, whereas 0% refers to no amount of that thing. Yeah, you range from 0 to 100%, and you're telling someone how much of something you have in parts per 100. That's what percents are all about. Let's say you're a good student, you might get an A on your test. Usually, if you get an A, that means that you got 90% of the questions right or better.
Indeed. So basically, the meaning of this sentence is you're more likely to identify a person wrongly if that person is of a different race than you are. Okay, so again, if I'm a white guy and I'm supposed to identify a Chinese person, well, I'm probably going to make a mistake according to these experiments. But if the person I'm trying to identify is a white guy, well, I'll probably do much better. That's basically what these experiments are showing us. And this is known as the other race effect, which basically means that we struggle to tell people apart if they are from different racial groups. Yes, indeed, we struggle. It's very difficult for us to tell people apart, to try to know who is who, which one is which. My wife knows a woman in our neighborhood who had twins, and I have difficulty telling those twins apart. Which one is twin A and which one is twin B? I can't tell them apart. I can't tell the difference.
Yeah, John and Jack, they're twins, but which one is Jack? And which one is John? They look identical. They look the same and they wear the same clothes all the time. So it's really hard to tell them apart. Yes, it's very hard to distinguish that one person from that other person. It's very hard to distinguish John from Jack in this particular situation. All right, folks, with that, it's time for us to take a break, but don't go away. We'll be right back after this.
Scientists think the main reason this happens has to do with familiarity. If we are surrounded by people of the same race while growing up, we become accustomed to their facial features. But different races vary in facial patterns. For example, white people have more variation in hair and eye color, while black people differ slightly in skin tone. Our brains get used to looking for the differences that occur within our own racial group, which makes us worse at distinguishing people of other races. But the good news is that we can overcome this effect if we spend more time with people of all colors and start paying attention to their features.
第二部分我们看到名词 familiarity 指熟悉或熟知，像是 My familiarity to the company has enabled me to gain an all-round understanding of finance and investing. 我对公司的熟悉让我在财经与投资方面有全面性的了解。另外补充与 familiarity 相关的片语，可以用 somebody 加 be 加 familiar with somebody or something 来表示某人熟知某人事物。举例来说， Rick is talking about a writer that he likes, but I am not familiar with her work. Rick 正在谈论一个他喜欢的作家，但我对他的作品不熟。接着我们看到的单字是 variation， 这个字是名词，指差异、差别或变化、变动。例如 Several variations of that song have been produced for different movies. 为了不同的电影，那首歌产生了几种变化。另外补充 variation 的动词 vary, V-A-R-Y, vary 指变化或呈多样化。所以可以说The medicine's side effects vary from user to user. 这种药的副作用因人而异。再来我们看到的动词是 differ， 意思是不同、有区别。像是 Randy and her wife differ in their opinions on art and politics. Randy 和他太太对艺术和政治的看法不同。另外补充与 differ 相关的片语，可以用 A differ from B 来表示 A 与 B 不一样。我们可以说 Can you tell me how the new TV differs from the old one? 你可以告诉我新的电视和旧的有什么不一样吗？接下来我们看到一个单字 slightly， 这个字是副词，指稍微、略微。例如 It's only slightly colder than yesterday, so you probably won't need a coat. 今天只有比昨天冷一点，所以你可能不需穿外套。而 slightly 去除字尾的 ly， 则可以成为它的形容词 slight， 指些许的或轻微的。所以可以说 There's a slight chance that I'll have to go on a business trip next week. 有些许的可能性我下周得出差。最后我们看到动词 distinguish， 指区分、分辨。例如Tom distinguishes himself from other artists by working in a variety of mediums.Tom 使用各种媒介，以与其他艺术家区隔。另外补充与 distinguish 相关的片语，我们可以用 distinguish A from B 或 distinguish between A and B 表示辨别 A 与 B 两者，或区分 A 与 B 的不同。举例来说 Everyone has a hard time distinguishing Eli from his twin brother Clint. 每个人都很难去区分 Eli 和他的双胞胎兄弟 Clint。又或者说 I can't distinguish the difference between this wine and the more expensive wine. 我无法区别这款酒和另一种较贵的酒有何不同之处。
We shall now continue with our lesson regarding mistaken identity. So if we're asked to identify someone who is a member of our own race, well, we can do pretty well at that. But if the person is from a different race, then we tend to struggle telling those people apart. This reminds me of a video I saw online a couple of years ago. There was an interviewer, a white guy, and he was talking to Samuel L. Jackson, but he made the mistake of thinking Samuel L. Jackson was actually Lawrence Fishburne. He actually mixed them up. He could not tell them apart.
Wow. That is really embarrassing. I feel bad for everybody involved there. But yes, very often people don't want to admit that race might have played a factor in a mistake that they made or something that they said or anything like that. People are really sensitive about that, especially in North America. But science is saying that yes, race apparently does matter sometimes. And one of the things I have noticed here in Taiwan is that people are quite open about this. I've had students say, yeah, I have a hard time distinguishing one white person from another. Foreigners, they kind of all look the same to me, and they think that's funny. In America, you don't want to say that type of thing. People would be offended if you were to say that about one race or another. But hey, science is showing that if you are of a certain race, it's going to be harder for you to properly identify someone from another race, okay? And if science says it, there must be something to it. Anyway, scientists think the main reason this happens has to do with familiarity. So why is this happening? Because of familiarity. Yes, scientists think the main reason this happens has something to do with familiarity. It's associated with familiarity, it's related to familiarity in some way, so on and so forth.
That's right. So this inability to tell races apart has to do with this familiarity that we have with our own race. It goes on here to say, if we are surrounded by people of the same race while growing up, we become accustomed to their facial features. Facial here means having to do with your face, and in my case, this is very much true. I grew up in a very small town in the Midwest of the United States, and everybody in that town was Caucasian. They were white, white as white can get. So I became familiar with their features. White people have different features than other people have, so of course, I'm able to identify them. The nearest person of another race was probably a 2-hour drive away, so I had no way of knowing how to tell black people apart or Mexicans or Indians or whoever. I just thought they all looked the same.
Sounds like there was a whole lot of familiarity in your hometown.
Indeed.
Anyways, yes, if you're surrounded by people of the same race, maybe people in your neighborhood, people in your family, you become accustomed to their facial features, or you get used to their facial features. And yes, Roger talked about the word facial. That means of or having to do with the face. But a note here, a facial feature is different from a facial expression. Yeah, a smiley face or a sad face are examples of facial expressions. A facial feature is something slightly different from that. Yes, Caucasians, like Roger said before, do have different bone structure in their face than people of other races. So their noses might be shaped differently, their cheeks might be shaped differently, their foreheads, so on and so forth, might look different or might be formed or shaped differently than other races. Okay, and when we're talking about those things, the way the nose is shaped or the way the mouth and the cheeks, the forehead are shaped, we're talking about facial features and not facial expressions.
Indeed. So yes, indeed, they vary. They're different according to races. For example, as it says here, white people, Caucasians, have more variation in hair and eye color, while black people differ slightly in skin tone. So yes, we're comparing white people and black people here. So white people have variation or changes in their hair color. Some white people have very blonde hair. Some are more brown, some are darker colors, and they have different eye color. My eyes are hazel, which is kind of a mix between green and brown. What color are your eyes, Jeff?
Also hazel, actually.
Okay, so yes, there are people with hazel eyes or blue or green or whatever if you're a white person. And so those are the variations or changes in hair and eye color for white people. But then if we talk about black people, their features differ slightly in terms of their skin tone. You've got black people with very dark skin and some with the middle tone and some with lighter tones.
There you go. So it goes without saying, white people have white skin, black people have black skin. So yes, here it says that white people, they might have red hair, blonde hair, brown hair, all sorts of different eye colors, whereas black people, if you want to distinguish, okay, you're going to have to look to the skin tone. Yes, black people here, it says, differ slightly in terms of skin tone. Now, let's put this all together. What does this mean? Well, our brains get used to looking for the differences that occur within our own racial group. So we get good at distinguishing people within our own racial group. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing. Okay, so let's say you're hanging out with people in your racial group. You're spending more time with people in your racial group, i.e. with your family members, let's say. And because of this, you get to know what those people look like in great detail. Okay, now this sounds natural to me. So you get better at looking for differences that occur within your own racial group. But this has a flip side effect as well, okay? We get good at this one thing, looking for the differences that occur within our own racial group. But this makes us worse then at distinguishing people of other races. So I think the answer here is to make sure that you branch out. Don't only spend time with people in your racial group. Make some time to hang out with people outside of your racial group. Introduce diversity into your life.
That's right. So you won't be guilty of being unable to tell the difference between Samuel L. Jackson and Lawrence Fishburne. Or for me, perhaps I might have difficulty telling the difference between J. Joe and Jackie Chan. Sometimes I think they look like the same kind of person, but of course they aren't. So yes, indeed, you need to distinguish people of other races. But the good news is that we can overcome this effect if we spend more time with people of all colors and start paying attention to their features. So we can overcome this problem. We can conquer this. We can solve this problem, but the only way we can do that, of course, is by spending time with people of different races. And then you'll have this problem less and less.
Yes, introduce diversity into your life. Just don't hang out with people in your racial group if you can help it. Anyways, yes, to overcome something is to handle a tough or a difficult situation. So there's this effect. We're good at distinguishing one person in our racial group from another, okay? It's a thing, but we can beat this. We can overcome this. We can do it together. We can prevail over this effect known as the other race effect. Okay, folks, with that, it is time for us to take a break, but don't worry, don't fret. The Chinese teacher is on her way.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文一开始要我们想象自己目睹一件犯罪，然后你也许会认为就算是要指认的罪犯有别的肤色，你也可以正确的指认对方。好，课文就提到说 Yet experiments show that you are 50% more likely to make a mistake than if that person were the same race as you。然而实验显示啊，比起对方和你是同种族的情况下，你可能会错认的几率高出了 50%。 好，这边有两个文法重点。首先呢，当我们用主词加上 is likely to 加原形动词，就表示某人或某事物有可能会怎么样。像是 The typhoon is likely to hit the island， 就表示台风有可能会侵袭那一座岛屿。那我们可以在 likely 前面加上 more 或者是 less 等等的副词来修饰可能性，来修饰它可能的程度。那么课文里面它是用到主词 is more likely to 原形动词 than 什么什么，用来表达说什么比起什么更可能怎么样怎么样。例如 No one is more likely to win the competition than Emily。 没有人比 Emily 更有可能赢得那场比赛了。好，另外还有一个可以表达可能性的句型是 It is likely 加上 that 子句，像是It's likely that Nick will be chosen as a team leader. Nick 很有可能会被选为队长。好，那么第二个重点是课文里面的 If that person were the same race as you， 这部分呢是跟现在事实相反的假设。当我们用 if 来引导跟现在事实相反的假设时，它的句型会是 if 主词搭配过去式动词或是搭配 were， 逗号主词加上 would, could, might 加上原形动词。那要特别注意的是，如果这个 if 子句里面的动词你要用 be 动词的话，不管你的主词是谁，不管人称是什么，一律都要用 were。 例如 If I were you, I might break up with him。 如果我是你的话，我可能会跟他分手。If I had $1 million, I would travel around the world. 要是我有100万美元，我会环游世界。好，那事实上我不可能变成你嘛，我也不可能突然现在就有100万美元，所以这些都是跟现在事实相反的假设。那再顺便补充一下，跟过去事实相反的假设。好，当我们用 if 来引导跟过去事实不符合的假设句，它的句型是 if 主词加上 had 加过去分词，逗号主词加上 would, could, might 搭配 have 加上过去分词。例如 If I had known the secret, I would have told you. 要是我之前就知道那个秘密，我早就告诉你了。那因为当时我并不知道那个秘密，所以我是在假设，当时如果我知道这个秘密的话，我会怎么样怎么样。像这样就是跟过去事实相反的假设。好，那么以上是今天的重点整理，我们回顾今天的单字吧。
Identify. During science class, students went outside and identified different insects. Percent. According to one study, about 20% of people say they are nearly always online. Facial. People can now use facial recognition to unlock their phones. Differ. Opinions differ on whether the law should be changed or kept as it is. Slightly. Robin opened the window slightly to let some fresh air into the room. Distinguish. The man can't distinguish between red and green very well because he's colorblind. Overcome. Jackson overcame his fear of spiders by getting one for a pet.
Discussion Starter starts now!
All right, everyone, it's time for our discussion starter. Roger, what surprised you most about this article?
Well, I didn't realize there was scientific proof that people of different races can't tell each other apart. I just thought we couldn't do it because we were ignorant and because people just said that this was the case. But actually, we've got scientists working at famous universities who are conducting studies about this. I'm surprised they managed to spend so much time researching this. How about you?
Yeah, I kind of had an idea that this might be a thing, but I had no idea that it was such a big thing, okay? You can misidentify a person 50% of the time only because they're from a race that is not your own. That is a staggering fact. I had no idea that this other race effect was this big a deal. Okay, everyone. With that, today's article is now complete. But, as always, we sure hope that you guys have enjoyed reading along with us. Anyways, I'm Jeff.
I am Roger.
See you next time.